Okay, first thing I want to say is this font was supposed to be way cooler. I have I downloaded the punk font on my computer that looks way better, so think of something much more punk than Arial, if you would. Okay? So the other thing too is I'm very cognizant of time, so when I get to around 15 minutes, if you could just shout at me, oi, 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 and then I'll know that it's time for me to stop. Okay. Oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi, oi. There you go. All right. Okay, so my topic is getting here to talk about revolution and resistance, rebellion, and doing freedom punk music. I'm going to go over my thesis for you really quickly. By the way, I'm going to try to be as punk as I can and be fast and loud and okay. So I have a couple of things here. First of all, I think that punk is more tied to resistance movements than anywhere else in the world. I think that's just because of when it grew up in Korea and everything. I also think too that we talk about like counterculture and stuff like that and collectivism when we talk about Buddhism and stuff. And I think that those two go really well with tying it into resistance, because I think the resistance that goes on with Korean punk music is not us against the world, it's us against those people who try to oppress us, and that is a very Korean thing to think. So, okay? So, first, let's talk about what punk is. Or let's not, because that doesn't make sense at all. But I do want to let you guys know that you cannot call it K-punk. That is cyberpunk, which is related to this guy, Mark Fisher. He's a neo-futurist, writes some interesting things, but okay. We call it Chosun punk, based on a compilation CD that came out in '98 or somewhere around there. It's got Yishun on the cover, so it's pretty cool. Okay. Punk music started in the United States and in the UK in the late 70s. Didn't become prominent in Korea until the late 90s or so, because they were dealing with a lot of other stuff in the 70s and the 80s. Promoted by some early clubs like Drug and Skunk Hell, which are kind of still around today. This is the New York Dolls glam punk band. I put them up there because their lead singer in the middle there is named Duane Johansen. Not related to me, but he's got a cool name, right? Okay, let's talk about the early history of punk just a little bit. Got started in the mid-90s, around 94, 95, around the University of Hongik University, okay, in Hongdae. Again, university students and their rebellious attitudes and figuring out who they are and everything, I think a big part of what establishes punk music. In fact, you know what? This whole thing, to me, doesn't really feel very punk right now, okay? That's better. All right. Yes.
Okay. Very high for us.
All right, and you can read this. You can do this. I'll come back and come talk to me. I'll talk about this too if you want. Let's just get to the music part. Is that okay? Yeah, you can come back to this if you want. Okay, all kinds of cool pictures and stuff. Some of my favorite bands and everything. We'll talk about the Fuji Rock incidents when that comes up. We'll talk about the music camp incident. I have a video, okay? But you guys can read this on your own. So let's just do some music. Okay, 3 punk bands you need to know that got like the granddaddies of Korean punk. No Brain is one of them. Crying Nut, who we're not going to mention very much, is another one. They have an accordion in their punk band, so going back to the earlier thing today here, and the accordion very much a Korean instrument and stuff. And then Rocks, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here too. Okay, these guys came out with their first music right around the 90s and stuff. No Brain and Rocks and Crying Out are still around, actually, still doing music and everything. They've changed their lineup a lot and everything, but they're still doing that. Okay, and one of the earliest hits then for No Brain was this song. It's sometimes songs for protesters, songs for writers, or something like that. I'm going to play a little bit of this for you. I play this for my students and they're like, why are they marching together? That's not very high, is it, right? But then it changes. Okay. and we're just going to do brief snippets of these and stuff because I want to give Lisa as much time as she could talk for. And I think she might mention 17 at least once in her presentation as well here. Okay. Roxanne. Let's go back to No Brain real quick if we could. Okay. No Brain, 2001. They're at the Fuji Music Festival in Fuji, Japan. Oasis is headlining that night. They're up earlier in the day on another side stage and stuff. And they get up on stage and changed their set, performed the Korean national anthem, and in the middle of it brought out the rising sun flag of Japan and tore it in half on stage and said, right, yeah, and said, hey, what you've been taught about Korea is wrong and everything to this Japanese audience and stuff. They did not get invited back to the Fuji Rock Festival, okay, just so you know that. But again, this whole thing about, hey, we're gonna make you look at things a little bit differently. Okay, Rex. One of the song I wanted to play for you guys was called "I Gotta Go," which is Wong Jun-hae, the guy with the spiky hair there. He's kind of like, he's the granddaddy of punk. He's the OG, if you will. Okay, so he's been involved in everything, and is still really active. So if you're talking Korean punk, you want to drop some name, drop his name, if you would. That stuff. But I like this one because it's got a video. The song I wanted to play was called "I Gotta Go," which is about I don't want to go and do my compulsory military service. So, but I got it. And so the band had to disband for a couple of years while he went and did that. This one is about all these different kinds of punk styles, all these different kinds of people. We all have to come together and all unite and everything. And that's one thing I like about the punk scene, is it doesn't matter who you are or who you love or what you do or what you wear or anything like that. Come on in. We can, as long as we can play music together. Okay? Label and club, Skunk Hell. Okay. I gotta figure this part out yet. There we go. Okay, here's the deal. Roxanne, height of their popularity in the early 2000s and stuff. We're invited on the most popular live music show. This is important. NBC Music Camp to perform. They were performing a segment that roughly translated as "Does this song suck?" or "Is this song any good?" or something like that. And so this is. They had already been accused of being sellouts and stuff like that. Their music had been featured in the World Cup and well, other punk bands too and stuff, and karaoke bars and stuff. They were on there to perform their song "From Now to the End," and the end is kind of important in that lyric, as you'll soon see what happened on live television. They didn't finish their song. Okay. There we go. Okay. That was the last time that show aired. They canceled it immediately after this, okay? The Korean government came in. The two guys that were dancing were not there from another punk bands called Couch and Riot Kids, okay? They got in a lot of trouble. They were investigated if they were on drugs when they did it, and of course everything like that and stuff. But the Korean government